Welcome everybody to another rendition of Delete Lawz. Give me a 5x5 if you guys can hear me okay. Give me a 5x5 if you guys can hear me all right. Okay, so we're going to do case law review today, and I'm going to talk in depth about a bunch of different cases that I haven't had a chance to cover as in depth as I want to. And so we're going to talk about them today. So the title of this video, and I think I have a new thing. Okay, let me see what we got. There we go. Yes. What is up, Team DLZ? How are you guys? So I got a forward-facing microphone now so that we can go over in detail each one of these cases as to how you lost your Fourth Amendment right in this country. It was the Supreme Court, the unelected Supreme Court. Put it in the comment section, OTVO, overturn Terry versus Ohio. And so now that I've tried this 14 different ways. There we go. Ha ha ha. There it is. And we are live. Team DLZ in the house. What is going on out there in the land of the unfree America? Give me 15 seconds. I'll be right back. There we go. Are we still there? Are we still live? Double tap on the screen, hit the like button. Thanks for coming, you guys. Welcome. I've been off in Henderson, Nevada for the last few days. I had an illness in the family, and my family member is recovering, so that's why I've been gone. But otherwise, I'm going to be doing this a lot. We're going to be going over case law a whole bunch, a whole bunch. And I actually have my computer still set up, but I'm trying a new setup, the 20th setup, to teach you guys case law as we go down the road. Good to see you, Gary Bryant, Chevy. I have this really tiny screen now on the back of my screen. No name coder. What is going on? All right, so let's get right into it because there's a lot to cover. And so I want to show you how you used to have a right to have a locked container in your car, but that right was stripped away by the Supreme Court. And now what I did is I put the cases in different colors now, so you can see them a little bit better. Carroll versus United States. This creates the automobile exclusionary rule, where your Fourth Amendment right can be excluded if the circumstances are exigent, if the cops have to get the contraband, 1, if there's going to be a loss of life, 2, or if they're in hot pursuit of you. Those 3 things are the reasons are called exigent circumstances created by the Carroll Doctrine, which creates the automobile exclusionary rule, where you don't have a Fourth Amendment right. You do not have the right to be secure in your car. If you get pulled over, the cops can search your car. Remember, this case is 1925. It's an extension of prohibition starting in 1920 with the 18th Amendment that didn't end until 1933 with the 21st Amendment. Carroll versus United States, there'll be some stuff we're going to talk about more than once because we're going to add in a few more cases today, but we just have to make sure that we all understand that Carroll versus United States is the linchpin of tyranny in this country. It is the linchpin of death. It strips away our Fourth Amendment right, and it doesn't ever come back, and it gets even worse pretty soon. It's going into our houses. But Carroll versus the automobile exclusionary rule and exigent circumstances come from Carroll versus United States. As we come down the line, we have to take a look at Brinegar. Brinegar versus United States, 1949. This is where we get probable cause to believe. The cop has probable cause to believe the facts that are relevant to the officer at the time and his experience and training create probable cause. So this is the next step to a tyrannical government, is allowing any cop on the street to create probable cause in his mind. And we're going to come back to this. These two cases, Carroll versus United States and Brinegar, are essential that you understand Brinegar of probable cause to believe. Probable cause to believe is a very important term that you... Oh, my computer's going off. Hold on. I mean, I've been researching and studying this for so long, for so many hours, that people don't really understand the damage that Brinegar versus United States does to us. It allows any guy who went through the police academy the right to say that the facts relevant to him at the time, if they would lead a prudent man to believe that criminal activity is afoot, that is probable cause. No proof, no witnesses, no Fourth Amendment thought. It's just a flip of a coin. If he decides that what he thinks in his head is probable cause, that's probable cause. Add that with the automobile exclusionary rule, and he believes that he is in hot pursuit of you. So Brinegar, you have to understand it. Now we're going to come down. Now here's where, so Brinegar versus United States, probable cause to believe. Now we're going to jump way ahead here just for a minute. We're going to go all the way down here to the 2013 case of Florida versus Harris. Florida versus Harris is a Fourth Amendment case based on a canine detection dog. And what, did I freeze up there? Cool. And what Florida versus Harris says that is that if a dog barks, that is probable cause. So remember what I said a second ago, that Brinegar creates this idea that whatever the cop believes in his mind is probable cause. Well, Florida versus Harris in 2013 says that if a dog barks, that is probable cause. Now, that doesn't mean they have to find any chemicals in your car for a dog barking to become a very relevant part of your life, where you may have to take the ride. You may have to get torture cuffed up because the dog barked. And as you know, Brinegar 1949 says that if the cop has probable cause to believe that there is criminal activity afoot, you know, they searched your car, the dog barked. Florida versus Harris says if a dog barks, that's probable cause. They searched your car inside and out. I mean, they took off the hubcaps, everything, and they didn't find anything. But Brinegar, a prudent man with the facts relevant to him at the time, has decided that he thinks maybe you hid the chemicals in the engine block. And so they're going to impound your car because a dog barking is probable cause. So now here's where it gets wonky. The Fourth Amendment is the right to be secure in your person, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Until 1976, in a case called Opperman versus South Dakota. In Opperman versus South Dakota, a guy gets a bunch of parking tickets in South Dakota, obviously. And so then they decide that they're going to impound his car for the parking tickets. And then they search his car and they find Mary Jane. But they didn't search his car. When they took his car and they impounded it, they only inventoried his items. So he pushes back on that and he says, no, you searched my car. It goes all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says that if they didn't search the car to search it, but only to inventory it, it's not a search. It's an inventory by the state so that your stuff doesn't get stolen. And in the name of officer safety, because they can't pull it into the police barn and then there could be a bomb in there. So South Dakota versus Opperman is only an inventory. So this is 1976, July 6, 1976. And then June 21st, 1977 in Chadwick versus United States, right here, United States versus Chadwick. Now what Chadwick says is that if you have a locked container in your car, if your glove box is locked and they go to do an inventory search from South Dakota versus Opperman, well, if the glove box is locked, then they need to get a warrant for that. That's what Chadwick said. And so Chadwick now creates kind of a little barrier to an inventory search on your car. So now in Chadwick, you're going to have this little bit of protection that if you have a locked glove box, that you'll be able to have a little bit of protection of your Fourth Amendment to be secure in your person, houses, papers, and effects, that just because you're driving a car doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to take your medication or papers or a love note or whatever you want, put it in the glove box and be able to lock it. And so Chadwick creates a little bit of protection on that. And there's two justices, John Paul Stevens and Lewis Powell, and they vote that you should be able to lock your glove box. And this is important because these two guys, they're wishy-washy. I'll play some AI for you. We'll talk about it more in depth. But these guys are wishy-washy. But originally, it's a unanimous decision that you should have the right to have a locked compartment, because after all, if the government can do an inventory search in 1976, well, then the government corrects itself in 1977, and they say that a locked container means that you still get your Fourth Amendment. So that case is going to be upheld in the 1979 case of Arkansas versus Sanders. It's going to get upheld even further than that, because in this case, Sanders comes... A confidential informant tells them that Sanders has a suitcase full of Mary Jane. And so when he flies in, they follow him, pull him over, and they search his green suitcase that has Mary Jane, and there's a lock on it, so you have to have a warrant according to Chadwick. So now that gets extended in Arkansas versus Sanders, where now you actually have to have a warrant. They double down and they solidify on it that you have to have a warrant. Now, of course, the regular people are going to dissent, which is usually going to be conservative justices. If you impede the police at all, conservative Supreme Court justices, they don't like that at all. Conservative Supreme Court justices want to give all of your rights to the police. The majority of them do, but specifically your Fourth Amendment to be securing your person. And I'll prove that to you, because this happens in Arkansas versus Sanders, 1979, United States versus Chadwick, 1977. But then 1981, Ronald Reagan comes in and he becomes president. And when Reagan comes in and becomes president, remember, he wants to get rid of the Fourth Amendment altogether. Ronald Reagan will give a speech in which he'll say that he believes that the Fourth Amendment should be abolished completely, that it would give the boys on the front lines a lot of breathing room, and they'd really appreciate it if they just abolished the whole warrant requirement. This was in Reagan's speech. So what that does is then what happens in 1982 in United States versus Ross. Let me slide this down a little bit. In the 1982 case of United States versus Ross, this is where, again, a confidential informant extending off Terry versus Ohio, off of Adams versus Williams, 1972. United States versus Ross, this is where they search a guy's car, the trunk of his car, and they find the goods. Somebody calls in on Ross and says that he has a certain amount of product in the trunk of his car, and that he's dealing this product out of the trunk of his car. So when the cops get that confidential informant call, they then pull over Ross. Their probable cause is that they got a phone call. Remember, United States versus Ross happens in 1982, but it's an extension of the 1972 case of Adams versus Williams. Adams versus Williams in 1972 said that if someone calls in on you, a confidential informant not even verified or corroborated that they're an informant of any kind at all, if anybody just calls the cops on you, happens from 1972, Adams versus Williams, this gives the police probable cause. What is probable cause? Goes back to Brinegar versus United States, 1949. Probable cause are the facts that are relevant to a prudent man at the time. So now all someone has to do is call on you, give them a few facts that a prudent man will be able to verify, and you can be pulled over, they can pull you out of their car, and they can search your car. The confidential informant on the phone created reasonable articulable suspicion in the 1968 case of Terry versus Ohio. There would be no such thing as reasonable articulable suspicion without Terry versus Ohio. So when Terry versus Ohio is passed, it then says that a prudent man with the facts relevant to him at the time can create probable cause against you. So now what happens in 1972, we just talked about it 15 seconds ago. In 1972 in Adams versus Williams, they say that a phone call from a confidential informant is now probable cause to believe. Brinegar. 1949, probable cause to believe. No concrete facts, nothing solid at all whatsoever. We're investigating suspicion of you because the phone call to the copper gave him, a prudent man, reasonable articulable suspicion that the confidential informant is telling you the truth, because they were right in these cases, so they must be right about you too. So now you get pulled over, and the United States versus Ross, 1982. And what this case does is it wipes away completely Chadwick, and it wipes away completely Arkansas versus Sanders. It wipes them away completely. Now, if you get pulled over, the cops can search your car using United States versus Ross. And just to be clear in this, Powell, who originally was the author of Fourth Amendment protections inside of your vehicle through the through the 1977 case of Chadwick and through the 1979 case of Sanders versus Arkansas, Powell, who had been the leading author of the Fourth Amendment being protected in your car, then is going to completely flip and switch in United States versus Ross and strip away that protection that if the container is locked, going back to Brinegar, if the cop has probable cause to believe, then your car can be searched without a warrant right there on the side of the road. And how does this happen? It's all based on leadership. It's all based on leadership. The presidency changes hands. Ronald Reagan comes into office. Ronald Reagan is the pro-law and order, pro-police governor from California who has come to the White House. Sound familiar? Ronald Reagan, for more money, is going to create the for-profit prison system. Core Civic and Geo Group is going to spring up from Ronald Reagan's presidency, and the pro-law and order cop who's now going to make it so you can search your car completely. No lock containers matter. Chadwick and Sanders, 79, are both now completely overruled. If you put anything in your car and you travel with it and it's illegal, anything in your car can be searched. The cop only has to say I have probable cause to believe. So now a lot of people will believe that if they put their product or their chemical inside of a mail envelope, that will save them from the search procedure. That would be false. Your product, your FedEx package, your mail that you put the name on with the stamp on that you think that won't be searched because it's a federal package is not correct. That's not correct. It will be searched. And the cops can search your car any time that a cop says what? Brinegar, 1949, I have probable cause to believe. There was a red Chevy that drove through here the other night that was smashing mailboxes. Someone told me about it. I have probable cause to believe that red Chevy, well, what kind of Chevy? A car or a truck? I don't know, just a red Chevy. Probable cause to believe. So now you go up here, and I didn't put it in white. I'm sorry, but we get a little bit of a reprieve in the 2009 case of Arizona versus Gantt. And here's how important using your Fifth Amendment is. Here's how important your Fifth Amendment is. Okay, Arizona versus Gantt. Remember, because now I'm sorry, I didn't do California versus Acevedo. We have to do California versus Acevedo before we go there. So California versus Acevedo just piggybacks on top of United States versus Ross, 1982. California versus Acevedo says that lock compartments don't matter. They can search your car anytime they want. California versus Acevedo. It's just the Supreme Court giving more power to the police over you. Now you have to kind of know this because California versus Acevedo essentially took the gloves off. They can search. They can search you, partner. They can search you all the way up in. They can search you. So Arizona versus Gantt gave us a little bit of pushback, and this is why I always go back to my trifold. People always say, "Oh, Chille, the trifold." Yeah, the trifold's really important. Invoke your Fifth Amendment when you get pulled over. Let's say you get pulled over and a dog barks. Florida versus Harris. Florida versus Harris, 2013. A dog barking is probable cause. And Brinegar says the probable cause to believe that the dog barked and it was right, even though they didn't find any chemicals, they can still arrest you. You still have to take that horrible ride. But Arizona versus Gantt gives you a little bit of protection, even kind of putting a cap on California versus Acevedo, 1991. And what Arizona versus Gantt does specifically is says that if you are out of reach of the contraband and you are out of reach of any weapons, say you're already detained in the back of the car because you're driving on a suspended license. That's the 2020 case of Kansas versus Glover. Kansas versus Glover says they can run your license plate, and if the license plate comes back where the driver is suspended, revoked, or not renewed, that they can pull the vehicle over in the idea that you're not the licensed driver and arrest you. So, but what Arizona versus Gantt says, let's say, for example, that you are pulled over and you don't have your driver's license, or it's suspended, revoked, or whatever it may be. And you know for a fact that you're probably going to go to jail because that's what cops like to do. They like to arrest you, impound your car, take you to the dungeon, and steal your money. That's the entire racket. They need more money for Core Civic. That Ronald Reagan, pro-law and order president, tried to abolish the Fourth Amendment completely. But Arizona versus Gantt says that if you don't talk, let's say, for example, you have whatever in your glove box, and you really don't want the cops to see that whatever that thing is for whatever reason you have. And that is in a locked glove box. You get pulled over for driving on a suspended license. If you don't say anything that would give him probable cause to believe, if you don't talk, and give him probable cause to believe that maybe you got your plants in there or your juice in there or whatever you have in there, if you don't talk to that copper, then he can't create probable cause to believe. Brinegar, piggybacking on 1968, reasonable articulable suspicion, Terry versus Ohio, then Pennsylvania versus Mims, order you out of the car, 1977. You have to get out of the car now in the name of officer safety. So far, you've done nothing wrong. Brinegar goes back to the idea the cop has probable cause to believe that you're a criminal in some way. He just can't quite figure it out yet. Pennsylvania versus Mims, and Terry says he's got to get out of the car. And then the cops are incentivized with the 1973 case of Robinson. 1973 case of United States versus Robinson says search incident to arrest. Well, all you have to do is arrest somebody and you get to search their entire person, everything. You get to search them from top to bottom. You get to search even around anywhere they were in case they stashed it or threw it or tossed it. And that doesn't get chilled out until the 1969 case of Chille versus California. 1969. Where's Chille at? Chille versus California here. Chille versus California is going to create the wingspan rule right here. Chille. The wingspan rule, that cops can search anywhere in a wingspan that you were. Now, this I can't remember if Chille's search incident to arrest. I don't think so, because search incident to arrest doesn't happen until Robinson. So Chille versus California 1969 allows the cops to search anywhere in a wingspan around you. Anywhere they can reach, you could have reached. They're going to use that Chille case to reach around. Now, 1973, Robinson is going to take that a little step further and say search incident to arrest. They can search you and anything around you entirely. But I think Chille's before that. So now when we jump forward here, you're going to get to 1981. Now, 1981, if you don't know anything about 1981, this is where towing in America, in New York City, really took off. And part of the reason why towing really took off was because New York versus Belton said search incident to arrest your vehicle and your person and the compartment and everything in it. So New York versus Belton incentivized police to arrest you. And the reason it incentivized them to arrest you in New York versus Belton, is because if they arrest you, they're going to impound your car. Now, you may not understand what the impound fees actually do for a city, municipality, a borough, a district. It creates a large revenue stream for the state, for the city, for your little town, your little shit two-bitch town. Yeah, that one right there. They're making money off New York versus Belton because search incident to arrest means that they get to impound your car, and all they have to do is find a reason to arrest you. Well, why is that a scary prospect? It's a scary prospect because of Brinegar versus United States. What is probable cause? Probable cause are the facts relevant to the officer at the moment of the interaction. Remember, cops have to make split-second decisions. Graham versus Connor, 1989. What I'm trying to show you is that the chips are completely and utterly stacked against you. You have very little hope of you somehow interacting and you deciding that you're going to save the day with the copper. You invoke your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. It's in my trifold. It's the main page in my trifold. I now skip every instruction I ever gave using my trifold other than I invoke the Fifth. And that's it. And then you sit there and you look at that copper and don't say a single word. I invoke the Fifth. Look at the landmine of cases that I just walked you through. It's astounding how many cases work against you. And if you make the wrong decision, if you decide, if you choose wrongly, I don't know if I got it up here or not. Did I get up here? Can't quite remember if I got that case up here. I believe it's the 2020 case. 2020 case. Bird versus, is it Boyd County? The 2020 case, I want to say that it's Boyd County. Will you bear with me for 1 second? Give me 1 second here. Let me look it up real quick. Let me just make sure. What was that case out of Wisconsin? I want to say Boyd County versus Brown, where they did a cavity search based on reasonable articulable suspicion. This is Claude AI, by the way. I use Claude way more than ChatGPT.
I think you might be thinking of a different case or mixing up some details. Let me search for Wisconsin cases involving cavity searches based on reasonable suspicion.
Yeah, I use Claude a lot more than I use Chat. It's just way more efficient. It's right
Based
more.
on my search, I found a case from Wisconsin called Brown v. Wisconsin that involves body cavity searches, but it's not from Boyd County. The case involves Sharon Brown, a Native American woman who was subjected to vaginal and anal cavity searches based on reasonable suspicion. Here are the details. Brown v. Wisconsin, pending before Supreme Court as of 2021. Sharon Brown was a passenger in her boyfriend's car in May 2017. They were stopped after her boyfriend allegedly shoplifted from Walmart. Despite being just a passenger, police took her to jail. While in custody, officers conducted vaginal and anal cavity searches based only on reasonable suspicion. The case challenges whether the Fourth Amendment requires more than reasonable suspicion for such intrusive searches. The legal issue: courts are split on whether body cavity searches require reasonable suspicion, lower standard; probable cause, higher standard; a warrant, highest standard. So, circuit split. Some circuits require only reasonable suspicion.
That's crazy.
Others require probable cause for such intrusive searches. The case was seeking Supreme Court review to resolve this split.
Yes.
This might be the Wisconsin cavity search case you were thinking of.
Yes.
So it's Brown.
Yeah, I believe it's Brown versus Wisconsin 2020, and I think it was the Seventh Circuit case, I think, and then that went up to Sonia Sotomayor, and then she kicked it back down and said it's not ripe yet.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
I know what it is. I know what it was. Anyway, the point is
it matches the pattern of Brown.
Thanks, I appreciate your help, Claude. But listen, now here's the thing. Here's the pattern I'm trying to get across to you. You wouldn't be able to have cavity searches. You wouldn't be able to search people's cavity based on reasonable articulable suspicion without Terry versus Ohio. There would be no Brown versus Wisconsin because there would be no reason you could search someone's cavity based on reasonable articulable suspicion. Do you understand something? So Sharon Brown, number one, was a passenger in the car. Number two, when her front side and back side cavity was searched, it was searched by a man. And this trauma that she experienced has shattered her soul, her life, to be propped upside down and pretty much being probed by someone you don't know. And it was for nothing and for naught because there was nothing inside of Sharon Brown. So we have to understand how far the government will take it when they say reasonable articulable suspicion. And we go back to the very beginning. Carol, and what is Carol done under? What's the entire fabric of the reason why Carol is created? Carol is created for prohibition because they simply cannot and will not allow you to bootleg alcohol. This is what's happening in the United States, and it's based on prohibition completely and entirely, that they have to seize the bottles of alcohol because the alcohol has cyanide and poison in them, put in them by none other than the FBI, who was poisoning alcohol because people wouldn't stop drinking it, both to be able to say it's an exigent circumstance and to off people and say, look, let that be a lesson to you. Alcohol is illegal. And let me tell you something. There was large swaths of Americans who were like, yeah, if you drink alcohol and you die, good for you. You deserve it. But make no mistake about it. This was because of bootlegging alcohol. Now, prohibition is going to end in 1933 with the 21st Amendment, but yet we still have the prohibition policy in place that police have warrantless searches of your automobile. It creates the automobile exclusionary rule, all in the name that you could roll away with alcohol bottles, which people now use DoorDash that rolls up their alcohol right to them. Here's your 12-pack of Bud. How are we doing on audio? We all right? You guys hear me okay? Sorry, I haven't seen the screen I'm looking at is this big, so it's so tiny. Forgive me. So let me give you a scenario. I kind of went over it a little bit earlier, but really let me take you down. Let me take you down a road here, okay? This is this is quite a road you can go down, okay? So let's use Arizona versus Johnson. Arizona versus Johnson is of course an extension of Terry versus Ohio. In Arizona versus Johnson, what the Supreme Court solidified is that if you are in a car and the car gets pulled over, that according to the Terry principles, that because the cop has pulled you over and the emergency lights are on, that you are now detained. Arizona versus Johnson says that not only is the driver of the car detained, but the passengers of the car are also detained. So you get pulled over. Now, essentially, you are being Terry stopped for free because of Arizona versus Johnson. And what do I mean by that? So you now, when you get pulled over, the cop comes up to you and says, passenger, get out of the car. Do you have to get out of the car? Yes, you do. Arizona versus Johnson is just like Pennsylvania versus Mims, but for passengers. Now, when you get out of the car, the cop says that you weren't wearing your seatbelt. But you were wearing your seatbelt. Now, of course, his body cam will later reveal that you were wearing your seatbelt, but when he came up to the car using Arizona versus Johnson and ordered you out of the car, he's going to say you were not wearing your seatbelt. So you say, oh man, that's not true. Now he takes you to the back of the car and he says, hey, look, where are you guys going? Now, here's what he's going to do. Using the 1969 case of Frazier versus Cupp, what that cop is trying to do is try to get you to tell him a story that's different than the story that he's going to ask the driver. Let me get a better shot of that. Sorry, there's so many pieces that work against us. I have to go all the way up and down the wall. The 1969 case of Frazier versus Cupp allows police to lie to us. So how exactly does this affect us? What the cop wants to do is separate you from your friend and ask you, where are you going? Where are you coming from? Very basic questions. Because number one, what he wants to do is he's going to lie to your friend using Frazier versus Cupp. Using Frazier versus Cupp, the cop's going to lie to your friend and say, no, she said you were going to 7-Eleven. Why is she telling me something different? To throw your friend off. Because using the 1989 case of Socolow, using the 1989 case of Socolow versus United States, here, if you tell the cop where you're going and where you're coming from, Socolow versus United States, then the cop can create what's called a drug courier profile on you. Using his training and experience, if you say you were going from here and coming from there, he can say along that route is a trap house. So based on my training and experience, I believe this person is a drug courier. Using Socolow. So what has happened to you so far? So far, you were in a car that didn't use their blinker, and Arizona versus Johnson allowed the cop to order you out of the car. Once he got you outside of the car, he lied to you using Frazier versus Cupp. It's right down there, 1969. and now he's going to separate you from your friend, get you guys to tell two different stories, and now he's going to detain you in cuffs and put you in his car. while you're back in the car, there's a dog next to you that's going to bark in your ear the whole time. This is the Supreme Court that we're facing. This is the reality that we're facing. That each and every case takes it a step further, just a little further, where your rights are completely stripped away from you. So remember what I taught you here today. Arizona versus Johnson, the 2009 case, is an extension of Terry versus Ohio. And this case says that if you get pulled over, you're in the passenger, you have to get out of the car. Oh, I'm so sorry. The case I didn't follow. The 2014 case of Heen versus North Carolina right here, this case says that a cop can make a reasonable mistake of the law, and it's not a civil rights violation because he made a reasonable mistake of law. So, for example, him saying that he didn't think you were wearing your seatbelt when he pulled you out of the car using Arizona versus Johnson, he made a reasonable mistake of law. So you're going to have to overcome this right here. You're almost never, ever, ever going to get a fair shake. So now, there's a reason why I'm going to show you this, and I want you to be, it's Hybel versus 6th Judicial District Court of Nevada up here. Okay. So remember, my new instructions for the trifold is that you just point. When you use the trifold, you do not say Hybel versus Nevada. You don't quote anything. You point to the case law if you want to communicate with that copper using your trifold. But Hybel versus 6th Judicial Court of Nevada says that if the cop has reasonable articulable suspicion that you have committed a crime, then you have to give him your first and last name. But if you give him your first and last name and you know you have a warrant for your arrest, then you are incriminating yourself. So if you're now in a situation where you're going to have to decide, am I going to say Fifth Amendment and just repeat myself and pretend as though you don't know you have a warrant? Because if you give him your first and last name, then he's going to arrest you. So there lies a slippery slope. Is he going to arrest you because so what is individualized reasonable articulable suspicion? It is that there was a guy running from the store wearing a red hoodie who robbed it, and you're wearing a red hoodie. That's individualized reasonable articulable suspicion. So, but let's say you have a warrant for not paying a jaywalking ticket or not having your dog on a leash, which has happened, ironically, in my lifetime. Now, if you give him your first and last name because he pulled you out of the car, said you weren't wearing your seatbelt, and you know you have a warrant for not paying your seatbelt ticket, it comes full circle. Then you have to make that executive decision right now. Are you going to take the chance that he doesn't have individualized suspicion enough to arrest you? Remember, probable cause exists when the facts relevant to the officer at the time would lead a prudent man to believe that probable cause exists. Probable cause to believe. I could sit and talk about this shit all day long. But look now, when we look at the cases here and you take a look at it, when you go Terry versus Ohio, where it creates reasonable articulable suspicion, officer safety over all your rights, they create that magical detention thing, and then that they can pat you down, stop and frisk. Those four things are created from Terry versus Ohio. But then the extension into Adams versus Williams becomes extraordinarily scary. And the reason the extension from Terry to Adams becomes scary is because reasonable articulable suspicion, using Brinegar based on the facts, 1949 Brinegar, based on the facts relevant to the officer at the time, then you create reasonable articulable suspicion. That was one thing. But Adams versus Williams took it a step way further. I mean, way further. Because now reasonable articulable suspicion from Adams was whoever articulated the suspicion to that cop on the phone or called the precinct and said that they thought that you had done something wrong. And is this abused today? We see it all the time on YouTube. We see people getting swatted. We see all kinds of crazy things happening because Adams versus Williams justifies and legalizes somebody making a phone call on you. Now, this is all going to extend again into United States versus Robinson, search incident to arrest. So they Terry stop you, and then you don't agree with being stopped and grabbed and patted down and frisked, and so then they say you're resisting, you're disorderly. Now you're under arrest. Now search incident to arrest. Now they can search everything on your body, pull your pants pockets out, turn your trousers upside. I mean, just destroy you. Put their fingers in every crevice of your body. It's absolutely horrible. Put a 1 in the chat if you understand what I'm talking about. Oh, we got to talk about this. Okay, so Gerstein versus Pugh, 1975. We got, whoa, oh, you son of a, sorry about that. I guess I got to mount that bad chicken. So Gerstein versus Pugh, 1975. So let's say that you get arrested. How long are you going to be in jail for? Gerstein versus Pugh used to have a holding that said that you would be in jail, you would have a probable cause hearing. So let me explain how I'm going to explain this to you. So Gerstein versus Pugh and Riverside versus McLaughlin are two different cases that are going to determine the amount of time that you are in jail when you are arrested without a warrant. So in other words, when you're on the street and you're standing there and something happens and all of a sudden you're under arrest by a cop and you're like, I don't know why I'm under arrest, but I'm under arrest for something. So now you're under arrest. Now, the next question becomes, how long am I going to be put in this cage for? How long am I going to be shackled up? How long is this going to happen to me for? So that is an extraordinarily relevant question in 1975. In the 1975 case of Gerstein versus Pugh, it was determined that you should get a probable cause hearing when you get arrested in all due, I believe the exact, hold on a second. What was that? Let me get the exact terminology because it was really specific and I don't want to mess this up. It's too important. So let me just pull up Claude here real fast because I want to get the exact wording that Gerstein versus Pugh creates. In the 1975 case of Gerstein versus Pugh, there's some exact wording about how long it is that you're going to be incarcerated before you get a probable cause hearing. The wording was very specific. Can you give me the exact wording, please?
Let me search for the exact wording from Gerstein versus Pugh for you.
Thank you. It's important because it's with all due promptness.
The search results show the key quote, but I should fetch the full Supreme Court decision to get the exact language. Based on the Supreme Court documents, the exact wording from Gerstein versus Pugh about probable cause hearings is,
right.
This determination must be made by a judicial officer either before or promptly after arrest.
Promptly.
The court didn't specify an exact time limit, but used the word promptly.
Promptly. Right. Got it. That's great. You can pull up the rest, but I'm going to keep going. So I believe it was with all due promptness. Claude will pick up the rest of that. But this is a very important thing because all due promptness in the 1975 case of Gerstein versus Pugh then turned into, if you were black, you might languish in jail for weeks, maybe months, until you get a probable cause hearing. Because these are, when do you get a probable cause hearing based on being arrested without a warrant?
Referencing how Gerstein from 1975 evolved into something else. It sounds like you're referring to how the promptly after arrest language from Gerstein was later clarified or changed in subsequent cases. Are you thinking of how County of Riverside versus McLaughlin in 1991 established the 48-hour rule, which gave more specific timing to what promptly meant in Gerstein?
Right. That's exactly correct. But even more than that, how Thurgood Marshall is going to object in the 1991 case of County of Riverside versus McLaughlin because now there's a 48-hour rule, because Gerstein, the rule is promptly, which meant they could be racist. But then when you get to McLaughlin 1991, the rule is within 48 hours, but 48 hours is a long time to be arrested from a cop with a bad ego.
Exactly. You're absolutely right about Justice Marshall's dissent in McLaughlin. He was very critical of the majority's 48-hour rule because he felt it weakened the original Gerstein standard. Marshall argued that promptly after arrest from Gerstein should mean as soon as the administrative steps incident to arrest are completed.
Right.
Not up to 48 hours later. He was concerned that 48 hours gives too much leeway for potential abuse,
Right.
especially in cases where officers might have questionable motives.
Right. They would
The
never.
dissent essentially said the majority was creating too much wiggle room where someone could sit in jail for 2 full days
Right.
when the probable cause hearing could happen much sooner.
And we could do it now
Would you
with
like me to search for
with
the
phones.
specific language Marshall used in his McLaughlin dissent?
I'm not so concerned about that as I'm concerned that we look at Gerstein versus Pugh 1975 where it's going to be promptly and we see racism rear its ugly head and they don't give black people hearings for weeks. Then we see in 1991 Riverside County versus McLaughlin where they say, oh, we're going to make you wait 48 hours. So we're locked in this cage for 48 hours. And now what I want to more focus on is that moving into the digital era, we could have hearings from your phone now, even if you miss court. You don't have to get arrested. You get the phone in your hand and there's a judge. You face the music now, pay the fine now, instead of dragging you off to a dungeon. We have more capability to have a hearing now over a probable cause arrest without a warrant than we did ever before. Right? Right? Now we have the ability to have...
Making a brilliant point about how technology should revolutionize this whole system. You're absolutely right. We went from promptly in 1975 Gerstein, which was often ignored and used to discriminate, to a rigid 48-hour rule in 1991 McLaughlin that still allows people to sit in jail for 2 days. But now we have video calling, smartphones, digital court systems.
Right.
There's no technological reason someone arrested without a warrant couldn't have a probable cause hearing within hours, not
Right.
days.
Right.
A judge could literally review the arrest from their phone or computer.
Yes.
Hear from the arrestee via video.
Yes.
And make that probable cause determination almost immediately.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
The irony is that while technology has advanced exponentially, we're still using a 30-year-old standard that allows 48 hours
Right.
of detention
Right.
when we could theoretically do these hearings in real time.
That's right.
Have you seen any jurisdictions experimenting with digital probable cause hearings, or is this still largely theoretical?
No, my friend, this would go to leadership. When there's a governor or a mayor in power that says, we're not going to arrest people from the street anymore. We're going to slide them the phone and they can pay their tab. We don't need to arrest people and drag them down to a dungeon because the cop has an ego, because the judge or the DA can review the footage now. But no leader wants to step in and say that because then they would be considered soft on crime. What a load of shit. The Supreme Court has ruined this country. Let me turn this thing off or it'll just keep listening to me. So anyway, it's just a little bit frustrating, and I just got back in town, so I can try to I'll try to answer some questions now, and I'll see if anybody asks any questions. Let me see if I can take this thing off. There it is. I can't really see very good though. What is going on, y'all? What is going on? So I don't. Are there any people in the room at all? I can't see anything. All the lights and the screen I'm looking at is literally this big. I may get another one. It's a screen that sticks to the back of your phone so that you can use these cameras. So I can open the camera length big, but I can't really see the comments because the comments are so small. I would be open to getting a different one of these. It's a little bit bigger. Oh shit! I might have to. I mean, I guess I could say for a fact it takes a licking and keeps on ticking, right? Yeah, you know, and your Fifth Amendment is your biggest defense. This is the whole thing about the trifold and invoking your Fifth Amendment. Like, if you just use that one sheet of the trifold, and you just use that one sheet, it would make all the difference in your life. And you don't have to be mean or rude or disrespectful to the cop. You can just say respectfully, I've invoked my Fifth Amendment. If he says anything else, say, and just point. Don't get into a back and forth with the cop. It's not going to help you. He's going to try to find a reason to arrest you. He's got all these cases working in his favor. You guys all saw it. All right, listen, Team DLZ, I've got hoodies in stock. So if you guys want a hoodie, hit me up. I think the hoodies I sent out the other day, a lot of people got them. So hit me up if you guys want a hoodie. I got to get the flock out of here, all right? Listen, I would stay and talk forever, but I literally drove into town this morning. My family is, in kind of a tough position right now. Everybody's scrambling. with one of our family members going down, and really medically down. So it's been tough, but they're troopers, and they're gonna stick together, and they're gonna love each other, and they're gonna get through it. They're gonna get through it. Let me jump on the other side of the camera real quick. There we go. There we go. What's going on, Playboy? What's the matter? You there? You are, Rancho Relaxo. Kimberly, you got your pamphlet. Yes, right on. Dixon, what's going on, Dixon? How are you, man? Good to see you. Good to see everybody. Jump on camera and talk with my friends for a couple minutes here. Just for a couple minutes, I'll just jump on camera with you guys and just rap for a couple minutes with my buddies. Just say hello to some friends. There we go. Jody Gardner, I see you. What is going on? Rancho Relaxo. Who else is here? Death Angel, Jody, Shiloh. What is going on, Jody? How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. Smokey, what is going on, my friend? Max Mawilian, Dan Hanlon. What's going on, man? Tommy Wood. Tommy Wood is here. David Stryker. What's good? Jeff Blades. What's going on, my friend? Blue Line. I don't see John Lunn. Where's John Lunn at? I don't see John Lunn in the crowd. Just a driver with a super chat. I didn't. Only 1 or 2 super chats came in. I guess I didn't really get on here and try to get super chats. I should have, huh? I didn't. Jose Hernandez, I got my hoodie. Yes, yes. Jose Hernandez got his hoodie. Right on. Jeff Blades turned 59 yesterday. Happy birthday, Jeff. Happy birthday. Good to see you, man. Pro Se. Yeah, Pro Se, we're going to schedule an interview and talk about your case, dude. Pro Se, David, we're going to talk about your case. I just got back in town. I'm going to teach case law a bunch this week. Stomper's been almost 2 years. Hoodies are dope. Stomper. Right on. Fresh Toast. Fresh Toast comes over just for the shout outs. Jennifer Hill, what is going on? Who's here? Just a couple minutes and I got to go. It's 6 p.m. here. I missed you guys. It was good to see family. And I saw my There we go. And I saw all the kids. I saw Dumb Cop Sucker. $20 super chat. Thanks, Dumb Cop Sucker. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the support, dude. It means a lot. That's a great username, by the way. Dumb Cop Sucker. That was great. Thanks, dude. I went to go see my family, and my niece has 5 kids. Dennis Norman with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate it, dude. Thanks for the support. And my family member who went down, 5 kids, 6 if you count the 13-year-old. But yeah, so I pretty much was around 5 kids for the last 5 days. So I've just been inundated with kids. And there was some fun stuff too, I got to take all the kids to a water park. It'd be great if their parent was available, but the parent was sick. And so we went through that kind of that. I want my mommy, but mommy can't be there, and I'm uncle, and I'm trying, but I don't fill that. I don't fill that hole that only mom can fill when you're a child under 5 years old. But it was John Lunn. There you are, man. There you are, my friend. Is that you, John? Make sure I got you. Right one, Johnny. Rancho Relaxo. Victor, what is going on? Thank you. I appreciate that. No, she's going to recover. She's going to be okay, hopefully. This thing is all based on how seriously they take their illness and what they're actually facing as far as health-wise. It's really serious. And, I'm 50 years old, so I've seen people live and die. And if you don't take care of yourself when the doctor says, hey, you know what? You better lock down right now and get yourself better. Then, I hope I don't have a loss in my family. But, they're going to have to take it seriously. Soy Leal, what's going on? Christian Ballin, what's going on, Playboy? Good to see you. Right on, Goofy Jester. He said, my documents appealed to the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals. Right on. Jeff Vascone, what's going on, Playboy? Thanks for the super chat, buddy. What's going on, Jeff? How are you, buddy? I was just dealing with the family thing going on, and it was intense. And Mama Lion, thank you. I appreciate that. Good to see everybody. I only stopped Sally Stanley, Team DLZ. Thank you so much for the support, my friends and my family. I really appreciate it. You guys are Dumb Cop Sucker. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I really do. I really do. Oh, that was for David Phillip. Oh, is that right? So David Phillip Vallejos versus Rob Anita. So your case is going to the Ninth Circuit now, David? Is that right? Wilderness Pig just sent 20 Delete Lawz gifted memberships. Holy snarling snake shit, Wilderness Pig. What's up with the Playboy? What's going on, man? I just taught a great big case law lesson, I don't know, for 20 or 30 minutes, however long I've been on here. Thanks, Wilderness Pig. That's 20 gifted memberships. Holy snarling snake shit. What is going on? What is going on? That's great, man. That is super great. Yeah, Amanda got a membership. Right on. Amanda got one. I'm super happy. Fuzzy Math got a membership. Just reading a few off. Bodie Burt got a membership. Luke got a membership. Spry got a membership. Nobody really. Reckless Abandon got a membership. Jeffrey Long got a membership. Wisco Audits. What's up, Playboy? Wisco Audits got a membership. Right on, dude. You hit the right one, Wilderness Pig. You hit the right one. All right, listen, I love seeing everybody, that's for sure. You know, it was nice to be inundated with family, but I'm gonna do this every day. I'm gonna teach every day. I don't know if this is the best one. Maybe my rolling desk was better because I could really get into the cases individually, and you could see how I get off track on this when I don't have those notes right in front of me, because there's so many cases where the Supreme Court screws us that have to be covered, and so it's like I'm just gonna consistently do this and let the chips fall where they may. I think this is more important than almost anything. Teaching you guys, and then the editor is going to go through and put like some B-roll to it and going to make it look a little cooler, and so you guys should be able to see some cool stuff. We're waiting on the first round to be done. Gary Bryant, good to see you, buddy. Writes on. Yeah, I think I'm going to go back to the rolling desk because it's a little slower and I slow down a little bit, and I'll probably do it that way. All right, John Lund, hit me up, and I will look in my box now that I'm back. Let's OTVO is in the Chizzy chat. What's going on? Grizzly. I know Grizzly. Law school. I know it. We are still young, my friend. There's still time. We do have to hurry, but there is still time. But I knew I was going to come on for a little while and just say hello to you guys and let you know I love you, and I was thinking about you. All right, I'm going to get the flock out of here. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate the super chats, all you guys. I got hoodies in stock. Hit me up. Don't wait. Hit me up for the hoodies. I want to get rid of all these hoodies so I don't have a hoodie responsibility over my head. Otherwise, I think I have to get rid of those. Thanks for coming. I'll see you on the next one. Chevy! Mikey B, Bruce, Greg, Jody Shiloh. Later, Gators. After a while, Crocodile.